What does it take to manufacture and deliver mission-critical defense components across borders under strict regulations in an industry where timing, trust, and compliance can make or break everything? Welcome to Industry Ignited, the podcast where we explore the leaders, decisions, and innovations shaping the future of industry. I'm your host, Dr. Leeanne Aguilar, and today I'm joined by Captain Pablo Ahumada, Chairman and CEO of GEDF Holdings, based in Brazil. Pablo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Now, you said you were repeatedly pushed out of roles because you saw ways to improve systems, and you implemented ideas even when leadership resisted. What did those early experiences teach you about how organizations handle innovation and threat?
Well, I start to work very young. So early in my career is that innovation is rarely rejected because it's technically wrong, It's rejected because exposed inefficiencies, legacy decisions, and sometimes internal power structures. So improving system force organizations to confront uncomfortable truth about how things have been done. So those early experiences taught me that innovation only survives when it's paired with governance, accountability, and ownership. So without this structure, good ideas are threatened and disruption. With the structure, they become institutional and improvement. So that realization pushed me toward building environments where improvement is expected, measured, and protected rather than resisted. So in the long term, systems either evolve deliberately or they degrade accidentally. So I prefer deliberately evolution.
Yes, exactly. All right. Yeah, that it is interesting. I mean, you think that people would embrace innovation because it improves systems and efficiency and all that, but unless people, I guess, are open-minded to it or there are structures in place for it, and sometimes there's many levels of governance and that kind of thing that have to embrace and be open to the innovation. And I mean, starting out, did you feel like there were political factors within the organization too that resisted innovation and change?
Well, normally it's because people feel threat,
Yes, yes.
when you have people that is your bosses in that time, and you have good ideas, the people instead to see it as a good example, good ideas, or to move things, they feel threatened and they shut instead of move forward with your ideas and impulse your careers. They just feel threatened and they just stop you right there.
Right. Yeah, they feel threatened. Or sometimes I've even heard they'll take ideas and present them as their own,
That's true.
which is,
That's happened a lot.
which I've seen as well too. Now, you started your first business in construction, then you exited before the pandemic shot hit. Looking
Yes.
back, what were the signals you noticed, and what does that say about how you assess risk?
Well, I saw multiple risk indicators aligning simultaneously, compressed margin, increased fragile payment chains, and over reliance on external liquidity. So when those factors stack together, exposure increases while control decreases. So exit wasn't instinctive, it was analytical. Risk assessments is about recognized patterns that other normalize because they are become accustomed to them. So when systematic exposure risk rises and visibility decrease, discipline sometimes means stepping away instead of doubling down. Timing matters as much as execution. There are times that
Right.
you need to think quickly and take decisions faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. Timing is critical. It's a key component in business and decision making, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Then your path moved from surveyor work and logistics into oil related loss control and then into defense procurement and manufacturing. What were the key turning points that shifted your trajectory?
Well, each phase of my career added a core competency. Logistics taught me execution, the pressure, and the importance of timing. Oil and gas introduced me to loss control, regularity scrutiny, and consequence management. And in that sector, mistakes are measurable and immediate. So defense became the governance point. It required operational rigor, compliance discipline, and manufacturer precision simultaneously. So the turning point was realizing I could integrate those capabilities into a single platform, and that integration ultimately became in GIDEF.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've built a life around momentum, and
Yes.
motion is life is your motto, I know. So where does that mindset come from, and how has it shaped your leadership decisions in high stakes environments?
Well, that mindset comes from operating in environments where Stagnation creates vulnerability. When systems stop moving, they lose awareness and responsiveness. So motion does not mean chaos. It means short decision cycles, real-time feedback, and rapid corrections when necessary. So in high-tech industries, waiting for perfect clarity can create greater risk. So that acted with discipline and intent. So leadership under pressures also requires controlled momentum. You know, that's why I always say that the movement it's life.
Yeah. And it's more important to make a decision than just to, and like you were mentioning in our earlier calls too, timely decisions. And it's better to make a decision than just to stay stagnant and to not
That's
make a
correct.
decision, ultimately, because even if the decision is wrong, there's still momentum and you're able to adjust and you learn something from it instead of just staying stagnant. Now, GIDEF operates across Chile and Brazil, including new manufacturing capability in rural Chile. What is GIDEF's core mission today, and what problems are you solving for your partners?
Well, the definitions is execution, certainly in regulated environments. We operate at the intersection of manufacturing, logistics, compliance, where minor errors can have disproportionate consequence. So many partners have access to materials or demand, but struggle with disciplined cross-border executions. So we design systems that ensure traceability, documentation integrity, regulatory alignments, and predictable outcomes. So, in essence, when we remove execution risk, so strategic objectives can move forward without operation instability. So everything is about to have good plans, good protocols, and a very good team behind you. Nothing of this can be compliant if you don't have a good team of logistics, shipping, and operations.
Yeah, right. And so, how is that in working in multiple countries? Because I'm sure there are different regulations in the different countries. And how do
Yeah,
you manage that
we,
effectively?
we need to be adaptive. We cannot be focusing just in one procedure because each country have different regulations, different procedures, different way to see things. So you need to be adapted and comply with all those regulations. So flexibility is very important.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
without getting into sensitive details, what does clean execution look like in your world, specifically around compliance and user certification frameworks and regulated delivery?
Well, clean execution is discipline under constraint. So it means respecting regulatory frameworks even when doing so slow timelines or increasing cost. There are things that you cannot avoid. So it includes full end user verification, auditable documentation, control logistics, and internal process too, designated with the assumption of external scrutiny. So in our industry, shortcuts are not efficiency. They
Mm,
are the federal failures. We operate as if every decision could be reviewed in detail. So, because eventually it might be.
right. And so, how large are your teams? You have teams basically in Brazil and then Chile. How,
Yeah, we
and I know you have different focuses in each place.
Yeah, we have our legal department established here in Chile with a small commercial team, and also we have our accounting and finances being handled here from Chile. In Brazil, we have our operations team, also with a commercial team and a manufacturing team. We have three manufacturing places in Brazil, and also we have the commercial director that is also my partner and my friend, Leandro Weisman. He is the one that is in charge of the operations in Brazil. So on that way, we can cover logistically, ports, and all the movements very well. And we have a very good communication too between teams.
Okay. And as far as those that you partner with around the world for as clients, where are you focused?
Well, we work in South America as our base of operations, but we move mostly around the world. We have clients from Asia, Europe, Africa, and North America, and we move all around that. So, yeah, it's a very good motion style of life, this one.
Okay. All right. So yeah, basically a global presence and you're able
Yeah.
to work internationally. Now you mentioned a critical market constraint. Many partners can access energetic materials, but they struggle with manufacturing capacity for certain components. What
Yeah.
gap did you identify? And why was South America strategically positioned to help fill it?
Well, the real constraint in today's defense supply environment is in demand because everyone is asking, everyone is requesting. So the real thing is find qualified teams. It's qualified compliant manufacturing capacity. South America is very strategically positioned because it combines industrial infrastructure, experienced technical labor, and regulatory systems that are enforceable and structured. So when designed correctly, the region becomes a stabilized node in the global supply chain rather than a volatile factor. So that positioning is deliberate and not opportunistic. Chile and Brazil, that is what they represent, because it doesn't matter who is the government that is in charge during a period of time, doesn't matter. The establishment and the stability there don't change, especially in Chile. Chile is a very good place to do business, and is one of the heads in South America to can do it.
Yeah. Okay. So you have the infrastructure, the skilled, the labor force, and yeah, just the stability, like you're
Yeah.
saying, just to serve clients internationally. Now, when you're building relationships with government agencies, ministries, and private contractors, what are the three non-negotiables that earn trust in your industry?
Well, I believe that transparency, consistency, and compliance, there are things that cannot negotiate. Transparency is how operations are structured. Consistency is delivery and documentation. And compliance, even when it's inconvenient or commercially uncomfortable. In defense, trust is not built through presentation. It's built through repeatable, verifiable performance over time. Credibility accumulates slowly and disappears quickly. So it's important that through time delivers. That is the only thing that you can do that to can build this trust.
Right. Yeah, trust over time. I think it's relationships and really, yeah, that long-term relationships and seeing you show up consistently, like you said, over and over again. And in an international business, how do you maintain those relationships? Are you traveling a lot, or is it a lot of just Zoom meetings, or,
Yeah, there's a lot of trouble. Even that technology today allows to introduce people in different parts of the world very quickly through the computer or through the phone. I believe that the face-to-face meetings, shake hands, is something that even the technology cannot change. It's part and very crucial and important in this kind of business, because when you see someone face-to-face and you can shake hands, you can see their eyes, their looks, and you can realize if it's someone that you can do business with. If you can show to the people if they can trust in you or not. That is
yeah.
the best way to do business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. There's just no replacement for in-person relationships, and getting to know people on a deeper level when you're in person is more possible than just online, because, there's just other nuances, and you're able to, talk more freely outside of just the business meeting, and you have the opportunity to go to dinner or lunch, or, just interact on different levels that allows you to get that deeper relationship. Is there a lot of competition in your space?
Yes, there is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there is a lot of competition, but I don't like to see other people just as competitors. I like to see people as partners, because sometimes you never know when you will have to need someone of them. So if you have good relationships with everyone and you respect everyone in their fields and in their works, they will also be nice with you too. So
Yeah, yeah,
someday you will need their assistance, their help, or even just an advice. Good relationships will help you to have good answers and very good relationships with a lot of people.
yeah. So you see them more as strategic partners than as competitors, really, because like you said, sometimes there's collaboration or cooperation just to meet the needs of a client. Now, your Brazil operations, like you mentioned, are more automated, while Chile is structured differently due to regulatory realities. How do you
Yeah.
design your operating model when each country has different constraints and advantages?
Well, we designed this for reality, not for uniformity. For example, Brazil enables greater automation and throughput capacity. Chile requires deeper procedural oversight and regulatory engagements. So rather than forcing one model across both environments, we'll build complementary systems. So certain processes are optimized for automation, other for regulatory control, and that balance allows us to maintain quality and compliance without sacrificing operational efficiency.
Yeah. And how has AI impacted your operations?
Well, the intelligent artificial have a very strong impact in the industries, because most you can automatize a lot of the process, documentation process, verification process, check facts. But I believe that if you can, there are some points that cannot be leave it fully in in EI. There are things that have to be in control of human expert eyes. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
EI is a very good tool, but in our business, there are things that cannot be changed by EI. People is still being important in the business.
Yeah. Now, in an industry where procurement cycles can be long and requirements can shift, how do you manage planning and production when customers may take months to decide and demand
Okay.
can change overnight?
Well, we separate what must remain stable from what must remain adaptable. Core capacity is protected to ensure reliability, and flexible capacity absorb volatility. So we also plan conservatively and execute aggressively. Timelines are structured around worst case assumptions so that positive developments become upside, not relief. So the mindset reduces stress across the organization and preserves operational discipline. So on that way we can have clean executions in our deliveries and in transit cargos and in all the projects around.
Yeah. And you've also highlighted that flexibility is a competitive advantage, but it comes with complexity. What systems, rules, or routines help your team stay adaptive without losing control and consistency?
Well, flexibility only works when a structure is strong. Clear roles, documented process, and real-time visibility are essential. Flexibility without a structure becomes chaos. A
Mm,
structure without flexibility becomes rigidity. And sustainable advantage exists in deliverable manage that balance rather than reacting emotionally to market shifts. So flexibility don't means that it's mess around or chaos. No, it only works if your structure in your company and in your team is strong.
right, right. Yeah, that's I think a good perspective. And because the market is very susceptible to emotional decision making, right? People
Yeah.
react instead of think logically or strategically necessarily or controlled and constrained in times where there's high pressure or high stakes or there's a volatile market situation. So it's like, yeah, how do you maintain that, mindset and not or manage people during those times too, especially like during a pandemic, let's say, or an economic um, shift that's creates that uncertainty because people are naturally emotional and reactive. So how do you
Yes.
manage that?
Well, try to be cold. That is very important. Is when everyone is freaked out, you need to say, wait, let's take a breath, let's think first, and then we can react. Let's see the options. What do we have? What is happening? What is the option that we have to make? What are the best decisions now? And then we can see if another decision has to be made. So everything is to be when everyone is running around because something is happening. I don't know, maybe now US dollar is weak and euro is strong and the actual currency and all this other one. You need to just to take a breath, look around, make a decision, and then see what happens and how to follow that.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Take a breath and just reassess. It's like, okay, everybody's panicking, but that doesn't help anything. So,
Exactly.
yeah. What is the most underestimated part of scaling in the sector, would you say? Is it people, permits, quality systems, supply chain reliability, or stakeholder alignment?
I believe that the stakeholder alignment is constantly underestimated. Capital machinery and permits can be solved, but misaligned incentives and unclear expectation create friction that it's far harder to resolve. So scaling in regulated industries as much about communication and trust management is about industrial expansion. So alignment reduces noises and reduce noise improves decisions quality. So I believe that that is very important factor too.
Right. And so, how do you maintain alignment or make sure that you achieve alignment when you're working with different stakeholders?
Well, I like communication. I like to have everyone always updated about everything, what is important, not for just the small things, about important things. That important decisions, important contracts, important things that are about to happen or we are about to do, and sometimes also the collectively advices from different points of view of people helps you to also to make good decisions. So when there are decisions to make and you're not sure, it's always good idea to make questions to other people to see
Ah,
what they think and how they will react or what decision they will take in this situation in another. So that helps a lot, and also that creates trust because people feels, hey, he really care about what I'm thinking about.
mhm. Yeah, no, that's really good advice. So it's just asking questions, staying curious, and to maintain that communication. And when people feel heard, when they feel understood, when they feel cared about, when they feel like their input makes a difference, and that trust is established or maintained, and that relationship is deepened. Now, you shared a longer term aspiration to move from bombs to rockets, from defense manufacturing into aerospace and space systems. What has to happen over the next 3 to 5 years to make that transition real?
Well, this transition is progression, not a leap. First, strengthen quality system and certifications. Second, we want to consolidate engineering process and technical talent. And third, integrate into broader aerospace ecosystems. We love motors. That's basically our plan. We love that. We love engineer processes. That's why we started with this company in the first place when with my partner with Leandro. Aerospace requires the same discipline as defense, and only at a greater precision and complexity. But the foundation is operational maturity. So it's part of the process that we need to live, and that don't mean that we're going to leave outside our defense factories and our defense projects. But we also do want to do this kind of things. They are follow our passions too by uh, space rockets.
Oh, no, yeah, that's super exciting. And yeah, so
Yeah.
it's more of an expansion, expanding your capabilities and moving into another additional vertical with aerospace and space systems. Very exciting. Now, in a world that's increasingly unstable, you've framed your work as strengthening legitimate defense partners and doing it ethically. How do you hold that line, personally and operationally, when the industry can be morally complex?
Well, ethics is embedded into the operational model, not added as commentary. Boundaries as defined upfront and enforced consistently. So that includes declining opportunities that don't not meet legal or ethical standards. So long-term credibility outweighs short-term revenue. So industry where consequences are serious, integrity must be structural, not situational. So that's something that cannot be changed. Ethics is part of your foundation as a company. That cannot
Right.
be changed or negotiable.
Yeah, part of your values and something that you instill in your, the way you operate your company and with your people, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, Pablo, for entrepreneurs and operators who want to build in regulated high stakes industries, what's your most practical advice on resilience, patience, and building a support system that can withstand the pressure?
Well, my advice to founders in regulated high-stakes industry is to design patience, into the systems and resilience into themselves. That is important. This work tests more than technical competencies. It tests emotional control, judgment under uncertainty, and the ability to carry responsibility quietly over long time horizons. So what often goes unspoken is that this pressure does not stay at the work; it follows you at home. So
Mm,
long decision cycles, regulatory friction, and high accountability creates stress that families inevitably feel. So entrepreneurship in this sector is never an individual effort; it's a shared journey. So the families is very important. That's why if I allow to speak directly to the families who support entrepreneurs, the role of the family is not passive. The stability and understanding and trust creates the conditions for sound decisions under pressure. And that helps a lot. In my own life, my wife has been a constant source of balance and clarity. So she understands long timelines, delay results, and the weight of responsibility. Even she supports my long trips too around the world. So that support allows me to lead without internal distraction and to maintain perspective when challenges is intensified and not decreasing. So behind many entrepreneurs operate efficiently under pressure, there is a family absorbing part of the uncertain and stress. So when that support exists, leaders don't just perform better; they lead more responsibility, more ethically, and with a strong long-term judgment too.
yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, that's a great answer, I think. And you're right. I mean, especially for entrepreneurs, it's not just a 9 to 5. situation. I mean, it's part of your life. It's integrated. And so that pressure carries over into your personal life as well. And having that family behind you that supports you, gives you, balance and perspective, and helps absorb some of that pressure, I think is vital. Yeah, that's very, very good insight. Thank you.
Thanks you.
Well, Pablo, thank you for sharing your story and giving us a look into what disciplined execution, compliance, and leadership and really, really means in a complex global environment. Now, for listeners who want to learn more and follow your work or connect with GIDEF, where's the best place to find you?
Well, they can follow our company LinkedIn profile and also in our website. That is also very clear there in our LinkedIn profile. And they can follow me too. I'm always open to new people and do friendships through the to the social networks as LinkedIn. So it will be
Reach
a
out
pleasure to
LinkedIn.
have very good talks.
Yeah, no, LinkedIn's a great, great resource. I agree. Yeah. Well, thank you again. And to everyone listening, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague who cares about leadership, operations, and building responsibly under pressure. Tune in to next time for the next episode of Industry Ignited. Until then, stay bold, stay curious, and keep igniting industry.